PJ-TALC, which stands for Pajama Time Art Live Chat. And it is a place where we talk about art and life and the life of an artist. So, my name is Esther L. Jones, and I am an artist, musician, and educator. And I started this series because I wanted to offer valuable content to you. And I know that's a kind of a buzzword, offer valuable content. But I do get a lot of people talking to me about what they would be interested to know about art and artists. Unfortunately, that doesn't seem to translate to viewing my live videos. So somehow I'm going to go and find a way that will serve that need for you without going live. So tonight, our topic will be underpaintings. And remember, that's not underpants, it's underpaintings. And we will talk about that in just a few minutes after I tell you what a lovely, lovely day I had having tea. My very first tea party since February with a former coworker and friend, and we spent 2 hours just enjoying tea and lunch to go with our tea. I made a wonderful fruit soup. It was an apple soup. It was so delicious. We both were just blown away by how good it was. And the conversation was even better. And always love it. Don't you love it when you have people that you can talk to that really validate you? It's so encouraging, so encouraging. So then I got to teach an origami class online to a young preteen, and we had a good time with that too. I've never done that before, never taught an origami class, never taught an origami class online. So my life lately is just absolutely full of new experiences. I did start a painting today. Several of you voted last evening for which reference photo I would paint next, and I got it started. So I'm thrilled about that. And tomorrow I'm going to kind of take the day off. I will spend time painting and I will spend time resting, but I'm also going to work on my website and stuff like that. So, all right. Well, let's chat a little bit about underpaintings. Last night we talked about the fact that underpaintings are just a map. That's all they are. Some people use underpaintings just to get rid of the white color of the canvas or the paper. Some people consider it an underpainting all the way up until they put on the very last highlights on their painting, the very last touches. I'm somewhere kind of in between that. I think most people are. I use all those different techniques. We discussed last night how to do a dry underpainting if you are a pastelist, if you're using pastels. So there's a way to do a dry underpainting. And then the downside to that is that that dry underpainting, that pastel that's on there will take up some of the tooth that grips the color in the paper. And so the way to get past that is then once you've got your dry underpainting down, to go back over it with water or alcohol, and then that solidifies it to the paper and doesn't take up any more tooth. So we're going to talk about that more in just a minute. So I am again drinking cinnamon spice from Tezo, and cheers. I love this little chintz set. So beautiful. So the next underpainting concept or technique is to use the same color in 4 different values so that you can get your values into your paintings. Now, values just means the lights and the darks. So you have a really light orange and a really dark orange that looks pretty much brown. And you have a deep orange in the middle, and maybe one that's just a little bit darker than the light. And then, so you have 4 different colors, 4 different values of the same color. And you would use that to put in pretty much the whole painting, just the shapes and the shadows, the different values, the darks and the lights. You would put that in, and with pastels, you can go ahead and you can go over that with water and alcohol if you want to, but you don't have to. With other mediums, it's not an issue. You might want to let it set for a bit if it's oil so that you can go over it and not mix in and dull your other colors. But that is another way to do an underpainting. And the advantage to that is that you already have your values. As it has been said many, many times by many, many artists, value does the work, but color gets the glory. So if you don't have good values in your painting, then your colors won't, adding color to it won't help. So if you can get your values in right away, then you've got a really good chance of having a super good painting. So that is the next underpainting technique. And then after that, there are some wet underpainting techniques for pastel. Now, these don't really apply to acrylic and oil, okay? But they do work for pastel. So these wet underpainting techniques involve oils or acrylics or inks. And I love playing around with them because it does give me a chance to get a brush out and pretend like I'm a brush painter instead of a pastel out. Even though it feels a lot like painting with a pastel, because I always turn them on their sides and use them on their sides for big swatches of color. I don't use a brush, so it's really nice to do that. In the case of an acrylic wash, you want to be really careful that you thin the paint way, way, way down with lots of water. You're basically just going to get a wash over the paper. And you don't want to put it on thick at all, because if you do, then you've just erased all of that grit that's holding onto the pastel. And the same for oil, only this time you're going to, I feel like you're going to get some more intense colors. And the fun thing is about that is you're going to use Gamsol or some other type of thinner and to make the oil paints very thin and then put them on. And then when you do, they create the coolest drips and flares and stuff like that on your underpainting. Now, a lot of the times that underpainting doesn't show through, so you don't ever get to see that. But just to have the inspiration of that wonderful texture and wonderful effects there is super exciting. And I love doing oil stain underpaintings before I start painting. You would follow the value structure of the painting you're planning and the form, the composition structure of the painting. You would probably choose certain colors for certain areas and other colors for other areas, but not the local colors, not the actual color that you're going to paint on top, because the goal of this type of an underpainting is to create layers and sparkle through and more intense experience of color for your pastel painting. So those are two more underpainting techniques. The other one is to use inks instead, acrylic inks or any kind of inks. Alcohol inks will work too. And to put those down. And that's going to be really similar to the oil stain underpaintings, except for you won't use Gamsol. You just use water to make the interesting textures and that sort of thing. One other thing that I use is soluble ink crayons. These are made by Derwent or Art Graph, and they are so cool because you put them on like a crayon or like some kind of a marker, and then you put water on them, and it's just like you put ink. It's kind of like watercolor, but it's super intense without taking up a lot of tooth because it's actually ink. So those are some really fun wet underpaintings that you can use for pastel. And I hope you have a wonderful week. Make sure you're looking for the music, listening for the colors, and awakening the wonder in your heart. And I would love it if you would comment below on your thoughts on this video. So good night.